Learn that at the end of the day, it gets laid at the feet of Jesus. Great advice for a marriage. Don't go to bed mad at each other. How many of you know how easy that is? You've been married long, you know that's not all easy, because I don't want to. I'm right, she's wrong, and I don't want to give this up. I've talked about the song. I should have played that. I might get that for the second service, sorry. I just want to be mad for a while. I'll get over it. We'll get back together. It'll be all happy. But I choose to stay mad for a while. The country song. So the wrong attitude. But it's so the attitude that we have so much of the time. See, we have to learn to lay it at the feet of Christ. Great advice for marriage. Great advice for relationships in your home, in your job, with your friends. Don't let the sun go down on your wrath. Don't let the sun go down while you are still angry. Deal with it. Lay it at the feet of Jesus and leave it there. The longer you let anger be in you, the more dangerous it becomes. I want you to understand this morning. That's why Paul said what he said. The longer we allow anger in our lives, the more dangerous it becomes. Dangerous meaning what? Meaning it then begins to develop bitterness within us. If we let anger continue to stew around in us, and I just stay mad at Ted because he kicked dirt on my sidewalk, and I'm just going to choose to be mad at him for a week and a month, and all of a sudden that anger turns to bitterness. We talked about this 3 or 4 weeks ago when we talked about unity within the church and this issue of bitterness getting within us, and bitterness that breaks unity, and it breaks the close relationships, and it comes between us and someone else. The longer you let anger be in you, the more dangerous it becomes. Undealt with anger turns to bitterness, turns to hatred, turns to disunity, it turns to jealousy, it turns to dissension, it turns to discord. Church, it is just plain trouble. That's why Paul is so adamant, and the Lord speaks to this issue so adamantly in our life. In your anger, number one, do not sin. It's okay to be angry, but don't sin in that. Don't step into that place of unhealthy, unholy anger. Don't let the sun go down while you are still angry. Deal with it, because those things are going to create all the things I just talked about. The bitterness, the hatred, the disunity, jealousy, all of those things. Let's go to Matthew chapter 21. Read this quickly this morning. Jesus is dealing with this issue. Matthew chapter 21. We know the story well. If you've been around the church, you've heard it. Matthew chapter 21, verses 12 and 13. Jesus entered the temple area and drove out all who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables and the money changers and the benches of those selling doves. It is written, he said to them, my house will be called a house of prayer, but you are making it a den of robbers. Verse 14, the blind and the lame came to him at the temple and he healed them. What's going on? Jesus dealing with this issue of anger. Righteous anger, healthy anger. What was going on? The people in the temple were in there to make money. They were selling sacrifices. People would come from out of town to buy a sacrifice to give to the Lord. And what was going on? They were ripping them off. They were charging way too much money, and they were in there greedy, trying to make a ton of money. That's what's going on. And Jesus comes in and he says, no, that's not going to happen. But watch what Jesus does in this moment. Jesus' anger is directed at what? The sin, the action of the people. Jesus' anger isn't directed at those people, and he didn't kick the people in the shins and punch them in the eye. You don't see that. He overturns the tables, the sin that was going on, that thing that identified the money changers, that identified the sin. Jesus gets mad at that. That's where the anger is directed. They were robbing the people. And incidentally, next week, Paul deals with stealing, and we're going to get into that. They're robbing the people. There was a lack of prayer. They were looking out for themselves. They were trying to get rich off of this temple, and all of this was going on. And that's where Jesus' anger is directed.